Good morning. It is time for our weekly check-in with the mayor of the city of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan, on this April 8th. Mayor, how are you today?
Good morning, Keith.
I am doing well, thank you. And, I want to get right to the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. The state releases numbers in terms of the number of people vaccinated in a community. New numbers will actually come out this afternoon, but about 22% of city residents have taken at least one dose of the vaccine. Are you continuing to see increased allocation here in the city?
Yeah, I think we're about to get a big pop in the amount of vaccines being brought into Fall River. We were working on some sites yesterday. We did a tour with the people from CIC and Cataldo that are going to be the vendor for the state vaccines. And I think we looked at a couple of schools. We also looked at a church that might work. During the day, I visited DeFario Village where we were doing vaccines there. And we've been going out to the homes of our homebound seniors and injecting them right where they live. So we have a goodly amount of vaccines flying around right now, but we're about to get a big boost.
Now, you mentioned last week that FEMA is going to be providing some assistance as well for vaccine distribution. You had talked about being in city parks. Has that taken place yet? Has that happened?
Well, they kind of backed off on the parks. They want to be indoors now. At first, obviously, we had talked about Kennedy, Lafayette, and Maplewood Park. We had a plan to go into the parks and help them, but they now all of a sudden it seems like that switched that they wanted indoors. They need something the size of a basketball court and a safe place to inject people. The basketball court's obviously for people to sit around and wait the 15 minutes, but we're working on sites indoors now. They switched it up on us, and we have to be flexible, so we'll go to the next adventure.
Is this in conjunction with what you just talked about earlier in terms of getting to some of these other locations, or is it separate? I'm trying to figure out, 'cause right now there's a lot of locations, which is great.
It's coming in from everywhere. It's coming under what they call equity doses, City of Fall River doses, Bristol Community College doses, housing is getting doses, Health First is getting doses, and we're trying to coordinate the efforts of all these different agencies and these different groups, so we're not duplicating one service to the other. But there's a lot of different groups that have access to vaccinations or vaccines right now, and we're just trying to make sure we keep a handle on it somewhat. As I said, it was housing that had their doses yesterday, so we'll work with anybody that's going to help the residents of Fall River.
In terms of communicating, I know on our website we list, a number of locations, CVS's and Walgreens, that are primarily found on the state's website. How is the city communicating to try to get people to these other sites that you hope to expand to?
We post our openings on Facebook. We have a link to our vaccine sites at BCC. Housing, they do a flyer in the neighborhood that they're going to go to. Health First, I'm not sure if they're still reaching out exclusively to their customers or they've opened it up. But we get calls all the time from businesses that are looking to get their employees vaccinated. We try to work with them to find the best place to have them, whether it is Health First, BCC, or one of the restrictions we do have, which makes it a little unwieldy, is when we do our mobile vaccines, which will be coming up shortly, we're not allowed to go onto private property. And I got to talk to the lieutenant governor about that, because that would make it much easier. A lot of these companies have a large number of employees that could really benefit from a vaccine, and I'd like to pull right up next to like a Commonwealth Soap or an Amazon or a Rhode Island Novelty and set up in their parking lot and let them recover in their cafeteria. But we're not allowed to go on private property right now, so we're working our way through that too.
All right, this week, many elementary school students return to the Fall River Public Schools. I believe about 75% or so are back in the classroom. Did you have an opportunity to visit any schools this week?
Yeah, I was in the Green School yesterday. I'll probably hit another one tomorrow. It's really special to see the kids back in school after so long, and uniformly with the unofficial, unscientific poll of raise your hands, how many are back? It's got to be well over 95 to 100%. The kids want to be back in school. There's a lot of good things going on in the schools, and instruction, as I've said for the last 2 years, seems to always be the little gap we have in taking these schools to the next level. And I believe instruction starts with the kids being back in school. So I'm really delighted to see that, and we just got to keep going.
All right, a couple of other government issues. The city of Fall River, as you know, is the city. You're already preparing your budget for fiscal year 22. Your administration submitted a water and sewer budget to the city council this week, which right now calls for an increase in sewer and water rates. What was the reasoning behind that?
When I talked to Paul Ferlin, he said, listen, we should put a little increase in. As you know, one of the designated expenses from the American Rescue Act is water, sewer, broadband, and whatever else they put in there. It would be my goal to try to find a way to take the American Rescue Act money and offset those increases, and hopefully give our residents some form of relief from those water bills. I'm looking into the best way to do that. If we can put a bunch of that $70+ million into water and sewer without too much of a lift, I think we'll be able to save our residents going forward from those increases, at least hopefully till the money runs out in 2024. But at the same time, just keep a strategic pattern of small incremental increases, so that come when the American Rescue money runs out, we haven't gone back. And it's like when they don't raise taxes for all those years, you slip further and further behind. Water is something that's very important, water and sewer, to the city and the residents. And if the American Rescue Act gives us the opportunity to save our ratepayers money, that small increase will be offset by that. I can assure you that is something I've said every day since that money came through. So we're working on it on both ends, a small increase, yet some kind of a rate reduction.
So at this point, I know that there was a deadline to get that budget before the city council. So that's why there's an increase right now, but the increase may not be that high when all is said and done. Is that probably safe to say?
That would be our goal in working with the council in a number of areas. Again, we were on a call with the Nationwide Mayors Association, or whatever their name was, the other day, and they were giving us their breakdown on what the money could be used for, although it was still extremely vague, and we're looking for some specific areas that we think can help the residents of Fall River. I really am comfortable saying that if all this money comes to fruition, and if we're wise and we put it to the best use possible to help the residents, I do not think that Fall River has ever been in such a strong financial position.
All right. Also, moving forward, the city council approved a series of, I guess, amendments to the city ordinance in terms when it comes to some administrative positions. And that leads me to a question that I've asked you many times before. What's the status of the city administrator position?
Well, Keith, I think it's like watching you on Rain Man. I get my underwear at Kmart. You ask me that question every week. I am working with a candidate. I'm not ready to come forward with it yet, but we're trying to get someone in here that can help us. I think that's important. We do have someone in the wings, but I have not discussed it with the council yet, and that would be my next call. Probably sometime today, I'll make a few phone calls and discuss it with them, but I'm not going to discuss it with you till I discuss it with them. That would be totally unfair.
I also know, we've talked about this, that in terms of the salary, that's been some sort of a hindrance in terms of recruiting people. Is it the fact that it's also an election year, a possibility of why you may not get as many candidates, because, it is a politically appointed position, and this person may come in, let's say in May, and then depending on the election, maybe on the outs come January?
Well, I mean, all the candidates want a contract, which again would have to be approved by the council. So, if the voters decided that they wanted to go in a different direction than having me as mayor, then that'll be fine. But at the same time, we're going to work hard to get reelected. I'm hoping that whoever we bring in as the city administrator shows they have enough skills and knowledge to help the city of Fall River. I really don't want that job to be a political appointment. It is, but at the same time, you just want the best person that can come in and help the city. Many of our departments are like that. I mean, they are jobs that you hire, but at the same time, if you're trying to make political hate by hiring people that can't tackle the problems that the city faces, then you're spinning your wheels. You want good people that work hard, that'll help the city, and again, if they're a poor reflection on whoever hires them if they're not doing those things. And I think that's what the taxpayers want.
Yeah. Finally, one other good news: as the weather gets warmer, people are going outside, and your office announced yesterday the receipt of a grant that is going to help improve bike paths and bike signage across the city of Fall River. So that's good signs in terms of getting that recreation started again.
Right. I think people are going to start to go out. That grant will allow us to make some additional bike paths around the city and make some intersections a little safer for biking. I think it's all a step in the right direction. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised by how much road work, infrastructure work is already scheduled to go into effect this year, so that the roads are smoother for the cyclists. I went by the old Durfee High School today and the RPA, and they're already well into digging that road up and repaving it. So those are the things that people want to see. Obviously, we're trying to bring on maybe a person or two to help with our litter issues. We want the city clean. We want the streets redone if we can get them, some nice sidewalks. There's all things that are in the works that we're working on right now for the citizens, and we're going to keep the city moving forward.
All right, Mayor Paul Coogan, as always, thank you for your time. We'll talk next week. Take care.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, take care. And thank you for joining us today here in FRC Media. Have a great Thursday.